What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys is some Overprime. Today, this is going to be more of a review of Overprime as a whole, rather than just the gameplay. However, all the gameplay in the background is recorded from Overprime. For starters, if you guys don't know what Overprime is, it is a game competing in the Paragon 2 niche. It's competing with games such as Fault and Predecessor, and it has been playable for a very long time. Overprime is a game by Team Soul Eve, and it was started very soon after the closure of Paragon. However, being a Korean-based game, and it did not have true servers for quite a while, it failed to pick up steam early on, and has since been sort of drifting in the background. Overprime is supposedly coming to Steam very, very soon, and if that happens, then I expect to see its player base grow substantially. You can already see people moving over to it right now, even before it hits Steam, and I think that that is a very good omen for the game as a whole. But that's not what we're really here to talk about today. Today, we are here to go over the game. We're going to start with the good things, and then we're going to end with the bad things, so let's just jump right into it. Starting us off with the good, we are going to get into the pace of a game. Not necessarily how long the game lasts, but more of a feel in a team fight. That is to say that it's very, very punishing. It's very tough because it's very quick. If you're a Smite player, this is going to take you some time to get used to. Smite is more of a reactive style game, whereas Overprime is leaning toward the League of Legends side on being very decision-making oriented and position-based. With that being said, there were no abilities that I saw that took up too much of the screen with too many particles, nothing that caused frame rate drops for me. I was on a consistent ping the entire time. It was a little high, but I would guess that that is just because servers are on the East Coast. Moving through a team fight, the Orb Prime feels very good. You guys will notice that the dunk mechanic is in Overprime. You have two chances to dunk. You have a back dunk that activates your Prime card, and you have a forward dunk that actually spawns Orb Prime as a lane minion in the middle lane. It will push down towers, and it's not do a lot of damage, but it has a lot of HP. This is a very unique take to the Orb Prime, one that you would recognize from old school Paragon, but you would not see if you were playing Fault or Predecessor. Neither of those games have utilized the dunk mechanic, and the main reason for that is because Fault and Predecessor both made their own maps. Next up, you have the item system, and that is to say it's the card system. It's very similar to the way that the card system worked in Paragon. However, all the cards are available to all the characters. It's closer to an item shop while utilizing the gold system of Paragon, rather than the deck system that Paragon used to use, where you had to make a deck for each character. I think this is a very good adaptation of the item system. The old school make a deck for each character felt like a very high skill floor to bring new characters into the game. You had to learn a lot before you could even jump into a game, and it felt a little unfair. The new item system feels very good. It feels much more like a traditional MOBA item shop than the old Paragon system, which I think is very good if you're trying to bring more players to your game. Moving on, we have the game art. It's very, very beautiful. The game looks fantastic. All the foliage loads in correctly. There weren't any things that looked super weird. There weren't any character animations that looked super whack. The only animation that I was a little questionable on was when Countess uses her shadow slip on minions. It sometimes just like launches her up in the air, and I really don't know why that happens. But that's not even an animation thing so much as it is a gameplay interaction. All the characters look fantastic, and that is another thing that brings a lot of life to the game, is how many characters there are. There are very many characters to play, including a bunch that you don't get to see in the other Paragon 2s quite yet. You have characters like Howitzer, Shinbi, Kalari, Grux, Sereth, a bunch of fan favorites that you just didn't get to see in Fault or Predecessor yet, and they are now playable in Overprime. I know that this is something that brings a lot of people to a game. If you were a Paragon vet and your favorite character isn't in Fault or Predecessor yet, you might be able to jump into Overprime and play them right now. I think that that is going to be a big draw, the fact that they've moved parts of their game forward while leaving parts of them back with Paragon. With all of that being said, there are still some things that I did dislike, and we're going to get into those now. Starting us off, we have the length of a game, and that is to say that it's very much too long. I've played 6 matches in the last week, and 5 of them went an hour, and 1 of them went an hour and a half. If you're coming from any other MOBA, then you're probably a little more used to this, as games can get very grindy, but if you're a Smite player, then you're going to hate this. If you're a League player, you might be almost used to it, and if you're a Dota player, you hate yourself because you play Dota. I do think this is something that will go down with time, either through tweaks in the game or people figuring out how to close out games. The hard part right now is not getting inhibs down, it's what happens after that. It's very easy to turtle in your base, and with that, it's very hard to push in. The OP buff doesn't do enough late game. Activating your OP card in the late game just doesn't work quite as well. Early game, OP buff does give you a clear advantage. Even spawning the Overprime minion early game gives you a clear advantage, but late game, neither of them are strong enough to be able to close out a game. I think that this is something that will get ironed out with time, and I think that that's the main thing it needs. A few tweaks to how minions scale might be in order, but other than that, I think that it's just time. Moving on, a couple small things are going to be things like you can B-hop out of the boosters in base, and you can get past your tier 2 tower if you're very good at it. This is just something that shouldn't happen because it allows you to get back to lane in about 5-6 seconds, which is just purely too fast. You're not missing any XP, and you should if you back. Next, you have the screen shake. When Overprime and Fangtooth spawn, the screen shakes violently, and you can't do anything about it. I don't know why this happens. I guess it's to notify you that OP just spawned, but there's also a sound that accompanies it, and the sound would be plenty on its own. The screen shaking is just a little too much. If you're prone to seizures, I wouldn't recommend playing because this literally might do it for you. And on top of that, they even have a screen shake slider in the settings menu, and it doesn't do anything. You can slide it up and down as much as you want, and it actually doesn't affect how much your screen shakes. Other than those couple little things, there's one big thing that really bugs me about the game, and that's the map. Simply put, it's outdated. It's using Paragon's old map, and to say the least, the map is 2.5 years old, and it looks meek in comparison to the maps that Fault and Predecessor have made for their games. Fault and Predecessors, both of their maps look very, very good. Of course, they're both very similar and take very heavily from the Paragon map, but they have a new spin on it, and they look very 2020. Overprime's map looks like it's 2018 because it came out of 2018. On top of the map just being outdated, it is a little unbalanced. You can see it right off the bat. You have 4 camps and a buff on the right side of the map, while you have only 1 buff and 1 camp on the left side. This leads to a very obvious strong side jungle where whoever has their 4 camps on the duo side is just going to win the game because that's obvious strong side jungle. I think that this basically would need a whole map redo to be able to fix that problem, but they could fix a lot of it with just a couple tweaks. If you took 1 camp from the right side and put it on the left, that alone would spread out the farm enough to where you have to go to both sides of the jungle, and it would make the map feel a little more updated. With that being said, the fact that they have river buffs in is very good. They have the rotating river buffs so that you're getting a different one every time you hit it. And on top of that, Fangtooth and Overprime pits feel very, very good. It feels like a pit where you don't want to get stuck on the inside because you're going to die if an engagement happens, which is exactly what it should feel like. But with all of that said, guys, I did very much enjoy my time playing Overprime. I will do my best to find a link to some type of download and put that in the description below for you guys, so that if you haven't had a chance to check out Overprime, you can check it out there. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like and a subscribe. It helps me out greatly, and I know that most people who watch my videos are not subscribed, so just help a brother out. As always, guys, I have been Pinzo. This video is done so. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.